the context here, again, very simple. A lot of you have been reaching out to us in the last few months. And when that list exceeded about 200 startups that reached out to us for potential buyers, that's where we believed that we had to start putting or addressing this in a programmatic fashion. Because it was not something that was a one-off request that was coming, and we felt we had to cater to a program of sorts. Have a flow where people knew how to come in, what to understand, how to be ready for a acqui-hire, and then meet potential buyers. Right. So, can we create that flow for them? Is something that we started getting into, and then we realized that once we started identifying what was happening with these startups, what is their strength, what is the strength of the teams, and we started helping them put the decks together for finding potential buyers. We realized that each of them had a dozen questions, not a dozen, 100 questions on the process, on what happens to my team, what happens to the compensation, what happens to the post event integration, right? Million questions. So, which is where we felt let's actually have the experts who can really address all these questions at one place, right? And which is what led to this session, where we probably have the best of best in the country to really answer and address the questions that all the startups in our network have been having. So to the 200 startups that reached out to us, that have filled the forms, shared the decks, this one's specific for you, and of course for the others who've been listening in through the various channels, right? I mean, Facebook, YouTube, all this one's for you. So let me get started. I would love to really acknowledge my team as well at Head Start. Harshal, Anirudh, Millie, Arzu, Ashwati, Yashvi, Naveen, you guys have been phenomenal in terms of helping startups with acqui-hire. I think a lot of efforts have gone into understanding their needs, and also then connecting and answering the queries, and also putting this event together, right? So while that happens, I would love to dive straight into the session. And thank you so much for joining us, Suraj, Samir, and Chetan. A very good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon, Gautam. Thank you for organizing it.
Pleasure to be here, Gautam.
Absolutely. So, we really love surprises, because, startups, in a startup, there is nothing that really works the way you plan, right? So you plan for X, Y turns up, and you have to go ahead and execute Z, right? So the entire background of being a startup is you need to be agile to things that you don't expect. And one such thing is making the panelists also be ready for something that's agile, which is they were expecting Anirudh to be the moderator, but I have cropped up to be the moderator for the day, right? So that is the first surprise for the panelists. Of course, Anirudh has a technical glitch, so I'm going to be running the show here. So first things first, Suraj, Samir, and Chetan, I'm going to go to each one of you and get started with the basics, which is, can we have a quick introduction from you, about yourself and the organization that you've been a part of, because each of you have solid experience in the space. In your current role, in your past roles, you M&A acqui-hires have been your bread and butter, right? So like how probably I am on Twitter every day, you've been on transactions every day. So I would love to hear a minute from each of you on your journey in this space.
All right, thanks, Gautam, and pleasure to be here with everyone. So I'm a consultant, not a startup founder. So life is not, it's. I've worked with a variety of startups at different stages, and acqui-hire perhaps today we see only in a context of very early stage or younger startups, but it actually happens for fairly evolved and larger organizations as well. And I've got an opportunity to get involved in those right from not just the buy side, sell side, but really whether it is relevant to do so or not. And if relevant, how do you do it in terms of a structure, tax, process standpoint, so that it really counts. I mean, most M&A fail, and acqui-hires fail more than normal M&As because it's only people involved here and nothing else. So got some experience I'd love to share with everyone here who are considering acqui-hire, or some of the pitfalls that they should avoid, or some of the things that they should plan and protect. Over to you, Samir.
Thank you, Suraj. I am Samir. I've been in the equity space, M&A space, private equity for the last 22 years. Last 6 years, I've been managing the Times of India Brand Capital Equity portfolio, about 400 investments from early stage to listed, 1.2 billion asset under management. Managed to exit more than $250 million in cash. Acqui-hires in my portfolio every year for the last 6 years been managed to do one or two, including in Jan 21. So whether it's an academy buying out NeoStencil, or last year we had Titan buying out an IoT wearables watch startup, which we had groomed. We've seen through situations around with it, and that's been the journey as a startup, as a portfolio manager, as a growth, both in India and internationally. Happy to contribute to all questions that may come. Chetan, to you.
Sure, Sameer, thanks. So I am Chetan. I'm based out of Bangalore. I have been in the M&A space for the past 11 years. M&A, I do it for bread and butter. I specialize mostly in tax and related regulatory matters. So looking forward to be a part of this. Happy to share the experiences that I have got. We have done a lot of transactions, involving acqui-hires. As Suraj was saying, not just these are limited to startups, but even mid-sized companies also are facing these kind of times where they resort to acqui-hires. And happy to share my experiences to this audience.
In fact, Deloitte is known for one big acqui-hire recently. They have BMR, so I'm sure you'll share most of them.
But not just BMR, Suraj.
Yeah.
Well, there have been a lot of the funded startup ecosystem space itself, right? So we've been hearing one a month in the last couple of quarters. So I'm really excited to have the three of you, because, like I said, like what Harshal and I would probably be spending time on Twitter every day, you guys spend on transactions, right? So really excited on that. So Sameer, can I dive straight to a question to you, right? Because
Sure, go ahead.
You handled investments or assets of $1.5 billion, and a lot of startup investments, a lot of acqui-hires also that you've seen in the last 6 years. From the buy side, if I could ask you, what really interests, or what kind of startups would
I have understood is only an English word. Ultimately, when you look at a corporate, you look at any entity, everyone has their, I would say, focus, priority. There is also a make versus buy, which has always been around in different forms of the world. Now, the question remains is all corporates don't get it right. And it's not because of lack of money or intent. It's just that you need a little passionate team who has delivered. And corporates do not have one thing, which is patience. They want everything to be done quarter on quarter, yesterday, there. Now, question is, if you have a company which you think has that mix of either a technology, of having done a proof, having done something, then I think you approach corporates to whom that might be actually 100 crore business from day one. That's the way I like to think for any of my companies. A startup may be whatever X number of revenues or pre-revenue or whatever else it is. But if that technology in the hands of a corporate, if that becomes 100 crore business from day one, then you look at that companies. And why am I saying like this? You need to look at the guy who's sitting on a corporate side. When you write to him, when you talk to him, you need to do his work. As an investor, if you are able to sort of make those introductions, you are able to get a foothold into perspectives of how a corporate would like to do it, because transaction is the start of the journey. And I think that to me is critical, is seeing the other side, thinking on the other side. And that can happen for all sectors, all stages, doesn't matter what you are. So I would say, rather than approaching and saying, acqui-hire me, I think a solution selling approach is what 100% of the time works, because it's the founder first. Look at it as if I am hiring as the CEO, not a problem, but I am hiring somebody who will take care of that business for me as an SBU, as a vertical, as a new initiative, as a venture development around with it. And I think that is why most of the time acqui-hires means that the sponsor in the corporate and the founder need to engage for a period of time. It doesn't happen just because today you are, approaching and in 1 month it will happen. I don't think that ever happens. It's a question of connect. So that's, I think, what I would say, how I would look at it, positioning it. And the reverse is how a corporate then gets fed into there.
So I think that's a very good point, because I think you 1 second. Yeah. So I think you were mentioning on a very important point, which was you're looking at the founder and the people in an acqui-hire, right? And you're looking at potentially a strategic leadership hire through an acqui-hire, right? Where you can bring on board someone who can lead an SBU, who can lead a product line, who can lead a particular geography for you, which is their strength. And that is the angle that you're looking at. Right? I think that's a great starting point for this entire session here. So Suraj, if I could actually jump to you, and I'm going to play this, dilly-dally here in terms of, I've taken an opinion from the buy side from Samir. I'm going to make you the spokesperson for the sell side for a minute here, right? So on behalf of the startup ecosystem, which you engage with very closely, an entrepreneur is extremely emotional and passionate about his venture, right? So we even say that his venture is an entrepreneur's baby, and nobody would love to say a goodbye to his baby, right? While we always keep saying that when a venture dies, it's the venture that dies, not the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur in him continues to stay alive for multiple other ventures. It continues to be his baby, and there is always that emotion attached to your baby as an entrepreneur. So my question to you is, how difficult is it for an entrepreneur to make that decision? Because as an entrepreneur, we always hope that tomorrow something magical is going to happen and turn things around for me. I don't want to accept this acqui-hire offer, right? So can you step into the shoes of an entrepreneur and run us through those difficult few weeks that he goes through?
Sure. And, I fully resonate. I mean, starting a business is like having a baby, and, we have pride, attachment. We want to see our, creations grow. And again, for the freedom and the space, it also offers us to do things the way we like, right? Founders also like that. Now, having a baby is also having responsibility and obligation that, when your child really needs something more to grow, to achieve its aspirations, and if you are not able to provide it, I think that realization also as a parent or as a creator, you need to have that I could have pushed this, or I could have carried my child only to a particular point, and after that I really need to get a complementary support, or like Samir mentioned, position what I have done as a solution, so that someone else will make it meaningfully more relevant. And it is in the child's interest to do this, not really see this that it's taken away my bandwidth, my fatigue, I'm overwhelmed to even just having that child founders start experiencing that when they face the market, when they see the business in reality, and really absorb offers on acqui-hire, because it will always be in the interest of a buyer or a corporate, right? It's cheaper than buying a business. It's generally more agile, efficient also to do that. You get really what you want. You're cherry picking. You get the guys you want. You get the technology, etc. So there is always going to be a strategic buyer or corporate for what you're doing. Culturally, are you willing to give up, and is that in the interest of your businesses? And introspection founders need to do. And that's where the meeting of minds will happen. That's where the connect or the marriage, with that engagement, like what Samir also mentioned. I'm just connecting that engage with your prospective potential sponsor or buyer to say that is it in the interest of the business, rather than looking at individually that, oh, as a parent, I'm letting go, or, I'll now be sort of relegated to an employee or a SBO leader of a, larger entity or a larger startup. And clearly never see this as failure. I mean, this is only validation of what you're doing is relevant to someone who can do more out of what you've done. So that is how I would, expect founders to just sort of step back out of that emotion and think through on what's in it for them, what's in it for the business. And, there are so many other people attached to the business, the core team members, whatever they've done to, people who have supported them, even advisors, mentors, do that. But don't do it clearly when there is an investor who's pushing you to say, I want an exit, and, Acquihire is a simpler, quicker exit for me. I mean, that's something I would also like to call for that. Don't do Acquihire deals in that pressure.
This gets me to bring a quick comparison of, again, things that we keep discussing with startups, right? In terms of valuation, their first few rounds of fundraise, where they worry so much about, diluting that extra 1%, 2%, 3%, for bringing on board a strategic investor, and where we keep saying, hey, you're looking at 50% ownership. That brings me to a question to you, Chetan. I think, we've heard from Samir on what has been a trigger from the buy side, and, we've also tried getting into the entrepreneur's mindset from Suraj in terms of, is it the right thing? When is the right thing? What does he typically go through? Because an entrepreneur goes through 100 different emotions, 100 different questions that hit his mind at the same point when he is in the middle of an Acquihire transaction, right? And that is something that we've experienced with some of the founders. So I would love to hear from you, Chetan, to help a lot of us with the basics of an Acquihire, right? What is the structure? What is an Acquihire? What does the transaction look like? And what are the possibilities from a compensation? If you can lay us, for a lot of us who don't know what an Acquihire is, if you can help us with that, it will be great.
Sure, Gautam. So Acquihire as a concept, is a situation where there are a group of people with whom you've been working on, and they en masse move into a buyer entity, right? Through a buyer company or another entity that's owned by the buyer. Now, there are different ways in which Acquihire can happen. In a more simplistic terms, if a group of people are resigning from one company and joining to another en masse, that is also an Acquihire. But in a more acquisition kind of a situation, the way this would happen is, there are negotiations between the founder and the buyer, where there are valuations involved. Obviously, when someone wants to be acquired or someone is acquiring, there are values which are there in each other's minds. What happens to my role as a founder in the buyer entity? What happens to my employees? Will there be any retrenchment? All these are like a group discussions and group negotiations. That's how I would simply put it. Now, there are different ways as it happens. As I was saying, resigning and joining back is one way. We have also seen situations where buyers are interested in acquiring the company in itself, right? That would be the most simplest form. But, there are factors that are affecting that. If there are, entities on the sell side where the buyer doesn't want to take up certain assets, doesn't want to assume certain liabilities, in such situations, there might be an aversion to acquire a company in itself. In which case, then that they get into picking and choosing what kind of people do they want to take, what kind of synergies are built. All these things are forming part of how this transaction goes through. So it's basically dependent on what value one sees, both from a buyer standpoint as well as the seller standpoint. What kind of benefits that are offered, what can be accepted, synergies. So these are the things that are relevant.
Absolutely, Chetan. And at this point, since you mentioned about the basic structure and what goes into it, right? I would love to bring in Suraj at this point. Suraj, so we've been speaking about what goes into the transaction, what are possible compensations. Of course, there are multiple factors that that differ based on transaction to transaction, and there are multiple variables that are there in a transaction. Be it the price, be it is there an asset purchase, is there a joining bonus? There are various components that go into the into the transaction itself. Some complexities like existing ESOPs in the company being acqui-hired, right? Vested, non-vested, how does it get treated? So there are a lot of these questions that keep coming in our conversations. In your experience, what are some of the levers for negotiation, or how should an entrepreneur approach with some lever to negotiate, or is it always a buy-side's game when it comes to an acqui-hire? What is your perspective on that?
So again, wearing the founder hat, no, it's not always a buy-side game. Actually, if you have created something niche, something relevant, something that the sponsor or buyer has realized, right? And that's why they are chasing you, that for them, either the time to create or the learnings to get to your answer is there. Acqui-hires sometimes get quite pricey as well. The founders, rightfully so, saying what they've done, will get a pound of flesh. But while doing that, I think, and we're always, like Chetan said, you're always seeing a buyer do a diligence. I sometimes on acqui-hire ask founders that, have you done diligence that, you are giving away your baby to that family? Will that family survive? Will they grow? Do they have the right sort of capability? Maybe you're getting an X prize, basis their last round, some stock or some options. But, people, you need to think through on what will or how will the future be with, a co-leadership or a different leadership. And essentially, because most of this is stock more than cash when it's acqui-hire, so the value is not just today's value, but future value. In cases where this is options, which is not stocks or not vested stocks, founders need to, have fairly high intensity discussions around vesting schedules and milestones on what would it take. And, in those corner cases situations, if the deal doesn't work, if they leave or their employments are terminated, really all that has to get discussed and properly documented and captured. There are factors which are, it might seem, not very tangible, but are important on things like title in the company, things like the autonomy that you get, because when you're running your own thing, you could do it your way. You could dress in a formal shirt with shorts and operate, but maybe an MNC will still say that we expect trousers, even on a Zoom call. So it's just that kind of cheesy stuff. Sometimes these guys will not get to, so they want autonomy, decision making, and also a commitment. I've seen some acqui-hires fail because, while it was great, it made sense. The acquire bought, everything was hunky-dory, but after getting acquired in a larger setup, they didn't get attention, they didn't get the resource allocation. And that's why they just keep, waiting for that, but that never came through. So it's good to document that bit as well on what is the commitment post-acquisition which the sponsor will do to the business. I think, Samir, you want to add something here?
I'll just add relevant to that point, because I think two perspectives I just want to share. One is when we talk about acqui-hires, most of the immediate mind goes to acqui-hire in a situation that the startup has not been able to raise capital. Now, while that may be true in majority of the cases, there are also situations which startups should look at corporates as an alternative go-to-market strategy. Now, obviously, if you have more investors on board, their preference for going that route is reduced. And which is why people end up into situations where A, B, and C don't happen. Most of the time, A doesn't happen. Series A rounds don't happen there. But having said all of that, I think what Suraj's point on the sell, I'm taking it ahead. I think how you navigate and narrate your story to a corporate allows that positioning for a corporate to bring that as his priority of doing or entering that market. So I think goes back to the same point that please go and showcase what you have. And I'll take a small example, 30 seconds to say that. We invested in a company which was IoT wearable devices way back in 2014. Okay, and it did gesture control, it did all of that. All of this before all the Samsungs and the world came in play. Now, this is US and India. Now, obviously, that market was too large, two different markets. Founder could not raise money adequately. Ultimately, two things happen. One, statutory liabilities go up. You are not having adequate amount of sales, cash flow, and do it. Angel investors are like sometimes not acting like angels there. So ultimately promises don't happen and ultimately cash runs out. So when you are in a situation where cash is running out, But if your products are selling, if they are in the market, if your development team is doing something which is helping a customer, that means your operations are active. I think that time the probability of an acqui-hire getting completed is 100% possible. It becomes as more difficult as some of those businesses stops around with it. And I think when we looked at that situation, we thought, why don't we give it a long shot? But if I have to do that, then I am proud of Made in India there. Okay, why don't I then talk straight to the Tata Group around with it? Titan has never done an acquisition. Why would it do? But obviously, they wanted Tanishq to also grow into a brand which then also has a category in which IoT devices, wearable watches, that kind of people who were not too fancy wanting the Titan watches. So I think how you position as to what category this will allow a corporate to get into, and if this team, which has got a patent, which has got a tool, which has got all of these things already being done, then it's like a package. Okay, I'm not buying cost, because as a buyer, I'm also looking at, am I buying cost?
Correct.
And I think the more that discomfort reduces, which is only through interaction, by showcasing, I think then you really allow a corporate to see value. Otherwise, the liabilities end up being the base factor for a value at which acqui-hire completes a conversation.
So, Samir, can I quickly, bring in a point here? So, can we say that the difference between a normal recruit or a normal lateral recruit versus an acqui-hire could potentially be you buying just cost versus you buying cost plus a lot of value in for faster. Yes, Samir, you were saying something.
No, you're right, absolutely right. What you're saying is right, but I think the thinking from the buyers also need to change. They should not be looking at cost, and I think that's the onus on the owners, the founders. Just look at this week. There was a company called FireEye. They got in and acquired a logistics, low code kind of market. Now, if you're aligning and approaching the same market, and I have skill sets which complement others, the other kind of a founder or the larger corporate, then it's a proper win-win. I mean, Facebook in US has done a lot of those things 20 years back, 15 years back. The first 13 acquisitions have been looking at hiring people. And why? Because each tech company has got a anti-poaching clause. So they may want Gautam, but Gautam is today in Microsoft. I can't buy a Gautam. But if Gautam's startup is doing something which is of value, I can respect the anti-poaching. But at the same time, I'm getting a team. Then I'm using you, investing in you to build a team. And there are founders who are also like Nazara, Nitesh. He is not acqui-hiring by the structure that Chetan mentioned, but he's investing and taking majority. Because from his strategy, he is thinking of enlarging his influence on the ecosystem. So a product guy has grown and now looking at ecosystem. That's also a very good development for acqui-hire. That's how then an empire or something like that builds up around with it. So I think one needs to look at how you fit into that business plan and deliver without having then have the hassles of being an administrator, because once a founder you are either a tech guy, a sales guy, a product guy, but then once you become a CEO you become an admin guy. You don't want to do that there that way. So I think that's where I think the journey then moves in that direction.
Absolutely. And Chetan, you wanted to add something to this.
Yeah, resources that you will also get from the buy side, right? I mean, if the platform, if the resources are being provided, right, to not just do your own work, but complement the buyer side, or the vice versa. Even if the buyer is able to give you the kind of platform which you may or may not have necessarily, so that can also be a perspective to look at when you are looking at a potential acqui-hire, not just the buyer standpoint, but also from the seller standpoint. That's what I want.
Absolutely. And I think Suraj, given that we're coming towards the end of the session, the last couple of questions, I wanted to ask you, based on your experience, what are some of the red flags that you've been able to see, in these transactions, maybe from the sell side, right? Because we keep saying that the startups, in fact, today's session, it's also because most of the startups are not ready. From a mindset perspective, from what it takes to be acqui-hired. So, can you tell us some of the red flags that you've been very commonly seeing?
From the sell side, one is, once there is a deal and, people sign on, I think the biggest neglect, especially if it's not an entity deal, is the old entity. It just somehow people forget that I ever had an entity, a business, compliances, taxes. They just, sort of close, then join, and, new emails and this hunky dory. Now that keeps adding to liability from taxes or, director obligations, etc. So logical closure of the old entity or business, or a settlement. If you have invested, some of them might have LPs, etc., which typically get triggered in a acqui-hire transaction. Handling that in a structured way is important, and not just sort of shaking hands and moving on, saying now we are part of a larger entity, no matter how exciting this is. And the second is more on communication, because again, there are a lot of people apart from the founder and maybe the core group who are not part of this, right? So for them, how this acqui-hire is communicated or told, they don't understand if in the larger organization what will be their relevance, roles, will they be accepted, how long. They don't know the deal, they don't know if there's an earn out, they don't know if the ESOP will continue, and that communication creates issues where people start to have different, they were committed as a team, but now that starts fizzling away during the transition process. So these are two things from the buy side, and I have one very important thing from the acquire side as well, which I see, and often the employees there, right? Suddenly, if you acquire someone, and like we are saying, cost versus talent, right? Normal employee, I get, he's working, he's been there for 5, 10, 15 years, but suddenly he sees there's a peer comes in, glorified media announcement, startup, all the jazz around it, and maybe some equity as well, and the existing capable, competent employee starts feeling a little shortchanged, that what am I doing here? And that's often, not very well handled. Today, there is not enough attention that goes to it. So even buyers need to take care of their existing staff and workforce to not glorify.
Well, I think that's a very, very fair point. And I think, even the first point that you made, Suraj, something that I've been seeing a lot is, in an acqui-hire, it's more of people transfer, right? Not every time do you also see an asset transfer, right? Asset transfers do happen, but it is not mandatory for an asset transfer to happen. And at times, the buy side is more keen on the people than, an IP. An IP may not even be relevant that the company holds, and hence they continue to keep that, the venture alive. So I think that's something that's common that we've been seeing, and like you said, the liabilities that you don't know just keep piling on. I would love to quickly bring in a closing point from Chetan. Chetan, would you like to, just pick it up from where Suraj left in terms of the compliances and the, liabilities that you don't know? From that angle, what are some of the things that, that we need to be wary of, or we need to be ready about, right? If you can probably run us through from a transaction compliances perspective, right? What are things that we need to be ready of, both from a buy side and a sell side? More from a sell side is what we would love to get.
Sure, Gautam. So I would want to split this into two parts. One is from an individual standpoint, right? If a person is getting remunerated in some way because of this acqui-hiring, what he has to remember about taxes. I know taxes catch you up everywhere. Often what happens is you get acqui-hired in the beginning of the year. You get a windfall, and you forget about it for the rest of the year. At the end of the year, you realize, oh, I have to pay my taxes. What triggers is the interest and other related matters. So one needs to be aware of what those compliances are to mitigate any potential interest or penalty implications. So that's something that one has to keep in mind. As far as the company that is involved, right, the startup entity. Now, as Suraj was mentioning very rightly, often we forget about the entity, and things just accumulate and pile up. Couple of things that one needs to do to bring entity closure to a logical end. Now, there are some licenses, leases which you would have taken when you were doing the business. Ensure that you have a closure. Take up a step plan. Take up an activity chart to have it in your mind on what things you need to do. There might be registrations which you may need to surrender. Get your money backs in deposits. All those things you have to keep it in mind, right? And from a buyer standpoint, I think there isn't anything significant. It's equal to hiring of group people if it is only companies, the employees which are being acquired. Payrolls, etc., will anyway manage. But I think the implication is more severe towards the founder and the entity being acquired. That needs to be kept in.
And Samir, a quick closing thought from you, because and now I would make it a bit tricky for you to bring out some of your examples or some of your experiences. In a couple of transactions that you've seen for your portfolio startups, right, the acqui-hires. If you can tell us what was that clincher that made the acqui-hires sweet, right? Because we've come up with different things, right? We've said the founder, the experience in that domain. There would have been different things. So you could probably take one or two transaction examples and tell us what really helped you close that deal. What are those one or two things that helped with these acqui-hires? I mean, if you can also give a background to the sector, without naming the companies, you can always give a background to the sector so that we can visualize what you're talking about.
No, absolutely. I think companies where it is already closed, I mean, there's no harm in speaking. So I think many various reasons around with it. So I think when they finally found a house, they found a house in Oyo. Now, the key thing was that you look at what the strategy is, and then you get the exciting founder, meet up with them. But I think corporates tend to delay transactions, not by any specific reasons, but they have a lot of processes. And I think that's one thing which any founder, any size company is not used to, digesting. They're used to every minute being decision making around it. And I think the best way to sort of get, corporates' attention to speed up the process is to do business for them. And I think if you end up leveraging that platform, start interacting and showcasing how your platform integrates, that went very well with Oyo. And they started seeing that, okay, this is, if I integrate it faster, then month on month I can do much more business with this team. That's an insight which then one has to look at as that sweetness of reducing time. Otherwise, it tends to drag in those situations there. The other part is, purely, I would say desperation is one way of talking about it, but you need to close it. So we had one other company which was an exception. It had already got to Series D and E. But there have been some cases in the past where a higher valuation at some point of time, then something happens. Either the industry, the founder or something, then you do a down round and then you do something around with it. So the same thing happened with one company that we were part of called ShopClues. There at some point of time, all of you guys know around with it. And then we needed to find somebody who can leverage what really was there in international markets. There was no point in looking at India. And I'm glad at the end of the day, Qoo10 of Singapore found that relevant in their APAC plans. So I think sometimes as investors, when we look at it, we need to wear different hats. And sometimes we need to think out of box, which otherwise is a founder cannot always think about it that way. And I think the retention part is something which works flexibly. I think people look at acqui-hire as a one-time. But I think the first 3 months and the first 12 months, this I have seen it to be the most crucial part. The first 3 months, all the selling side guys may not have a choice. They may welcome it. But I think it's the joint ownership of the founder of the selling startup as well as the sponsor whose KRA is this additional P&L to make everyone feel welcome. And I think there are milestones that should be looked upon which need not be linked to any cash, but it has just milestones which will allow people to settle in. And I think how you do that settling in, as a team, that makes the journey different. Of course, I have seen 1 year later, a lot of people leave that or businesses. But I think those are choices and situations that, we don't think about when we are looking at an acqui-hire, either from buying it or from making sure that the brand stays. And I think some people have, and all people have, no founder at least wants to see his baby still there. Because once a founder, always a founder. That one cannot take it about it that way. So that brand gets associated with the founder, and many people are still proud to see the brand alive if the acquiring entity keeps the brand.
And Suraj, closing thoughts from you. Especially something that you can also share as a parting note for our sell side listening to you today and who will continue to view this video. Any closing thoughts for them?
So as I said, getting acqui-hired is not where the sell side starts the journey. I think remain focused on what you were out there to build, and in the path that you were growing and raising capital, and how every other startup grows. These are distractions. Sometimes I tell founders that a lot of times might, because it's less expensive, etc. Also take your eyes off the goal that you're there. So just, as I said, weigh it as an investor. Sometimes weigh out acqui-hire to say that now you're going to be an investor in that company because you're going to have stocks, and take the judgment also to see what your future is there. Don't just accept something at the face of it and think that you'll get a media bite that I got acqui-hired. That's not the purpose for this.
And Chetan, any final thoughts from you for our sell side in having a good transaction that comes out?
So only thing I have to say, Gautam, is when you look at something like this, think of both ways. Not just what I'm getting, what I can offer also. What is it in for me as a founder? How do I leverage myself? How I can grow? How I can develop and build on my skills? How do I use the platform of the buyer? How do I take care of the employees with whom I have been working? Ensure they also get a fair deal because they have also come on board trusting you. So these things have to be kept in mind when you take this transaction, when you look at this.
And at this point, I would love to thank all of you, Suraj, Samir, and Chetan. Thank you so much for spending the last 1 hour with us. And I would really want one of our team members, Harshal, to go through the last 1 hour of video again and put a blog together, because there's been so many insights, and it will be a crime if we don't document some of these insights, right? We'll document that, run it past Suraj, Samir, and Chetan, because I think it will be a great reference material for many of our startups, because there's been very priceless amount of gems thrown at us, right? So I think thank you so much again, Samir, Suraj, and Chetan. Thank you so much, all of you, for staying for the last 1 hour. So we have another session up, but before that, we're going to pause it for 5 minutes and allow your network, because a lot of you wanted to also say a hi to Suraj, Samir, and Chetan. So we're gonna close the session now, open the tables, and we're also gonna have Suraj, Samir, and Chetan on different tables for about 5-10 minutes, and say a quick hi to them, and before you leave, and that's where you pick up conversations for the future. While we do that, we have another session lined up for you. We're gonna have Harshal, host Swati Gupta from Passion Connect Bloom Ventures. Passion Connect and Bloom have been enabling a lot of acqui-hires of late, and we're going to hear from her as well in terms of getting you ready for an acqui-hire. So what are the steps that they do in getting the sell side ready? So they focus on working closely with the sell side. So we're going to have that hands-on session with Swati in 5 minutes. So till 5:15, we'll open up the tables. We'll see you on the other side for some networking. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam.